All right, welcome back to another installment in Kiss FAQ's deep dive exploration of You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best, Kiss's 1996 compilation celebrating the Alive Worldwide tour. In this one, it's the final song from the vault that was included on the compilation in 1996. Of course, that's Take Me, which was one of three potential outtakes from the Alive 2 album, which were supplanted for five new songs on side 4. Try and say that a little bit of a tongue twister after recording 5 installments for this series in one go. So I've already covered Take Me in a previous video, but I've refreshed some of the audio samples that I'm going to use to talk about this song today. Again, we're breaking no new ground. There was the recent Song Story series episode on Take Me, which also included some of my thoughts at the time. Purportedly from Los Angeles. We don't have any source material from those. There is one night that survives as an audience recording, a pretty darn good one, actually, well worth checking out and very listenable. I know in recent months a purported newer version has been circulating, but it doesn't sound any better than one that I had previously. So if I had it, others did. Nothing special there. So for comparisons for the Alive 2 tour, all we really have are the Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo unreleased live album from the March tour. Different dynamics, properly recorded, fully mixed and edited by Eddie Kramer. And I think we have, 4 soundboards, 2 sourced from video from the Houston Summit, which were released on Kissology, which have circulated forever, as far as I'm aware, and 2 more recent recordings from Fort Worth, the last 2 shows of the tour, neither of which make a complete show between them. Both are partial. So we only get one version of Take Me from that recording. So clearly the vocals were updated. We've talked about that. I'm going to compare with both Houston and Rock and Roll Party. So let's get started with some multimedia from Take Me, a Live 2 outtake, updated for 1996.
Put your hand in my pocket, grab onto my rocket, feel so good to see you, see ya. Baby, got to know, do you want to go? How you gonna make me feel? Said, whoa, baby, you make me feel, yeah. Put your hand in my pocket, grab onto my rocket, feel so good to see you, see ya. Baby, got to know. Do you want to go? How you gonna make me feel? I said, oh, baby, you make me feel, yeah.
All right, so top audio is, of course, and the first sample played is from the 192 kilohertz HD tracks version of You Wanted the Best, and the bottom is from the isolation of AI STEM audio from Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo. Clearly the difference is obvious. Modern, or 1996 modern Paul versus 1977 Paul. Different singing style. To me, I describe it as singing from the gut. He's much more refined and powerful and attractive and dynamic in 1996, but way more seasoned as a vocalist. He's improved his craft, as has Gene, or just become, more settled in how they sing. So obvious difference that you're not fooling anyone. I don't think, again, I don't think they were arrogant enough to think that they'd be fooling anyone. So I've come around to thinking that the purpose of You Wanted the Best is not so much going into the vault, but using the vault to present stuff that maybe at that point was considered potentially to be recorded during the tour. And Take Me certainly was for a very brief period. Let's do some more of these vocals.
Whoa, baby, you make me feel, yeah. So take me any way you want me, just break me any way you can. Take me any way you want me now. Make me feel the man.
All right, so clearly Gene singing his background vocals there to combine with Paul on the harmony, slightly different style than he did in 1977 or 76.
Oh, baby, you make me feel, yeah. So take me And the way you walk me just break me. And the way you dance, break me. And the way you walk me down, never be like a man.
All right, so when I isolated these background and lead vocals on it, Gene's total falsetto there, and I'm wondering now if that was something of a driver for wanting to update that they no longer sounded like that, and particularly in the years or decades since Rock and Roll Party was recorded or Alive 2 was captured um, for the album. Maybe Gene had been impacted or affected or afflicted by I Was Made for Loving You. We've heard him in interviews. He's talking about how much he hated the do do do, which was his part of the song to kind of sing. And maybe it sounded dated. And they had a desire to make it more contemporary. So I don't know. Again, I'm just throwing out stuff. What do you think in the comments for that matter? Why would they potentially have decided to contemporize the material to 1996 standards rather than leaving it virgin or unmolested or, unmolested 1977, 76 audio? Let's continue.
Put your hand in my pocket, grab on through my rocket, feel so good to see you, Lucille. Baby, got to know, do you want to go? How you gonna make me feel?
And just to pause there briefly, it's perfunctory. Paul is all business singing live. And again, I've mentioned on some of the other videos that there's a definite difference between singing live and singing in the studio, being on mic, off mic, again, playing while singing. All of the dynamics that go on during a show are absent when singing in the studio. So I can, again, see reasons and understand reasons why potentially they might have wanted to replace some of those vocals.
Whoa, baby, you make me feel, yeah. Whoa, baby, you make me feel, yeah. Go take me, and the way you want to take me, and the way you dance, take me, and the way you want me now, let me feel like a man.
So this sample's useful just for a comparison with Houston. And again, we don't have a lot, and I didn't want to stem every damn audio recording from 1977 for the sake of this. But one thing that jumped out at me when comparing, how Paul and Gene were singing closer to the recording than Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo was they've added an effect to those backing vocals. I don't know what it is exactly. If you know, put it in the comments and add to the conversation. So they really changed things around there. And maybe they didn't simply like this anymore when they listened to it. So let's move on to the drums. I just want to see how Peter's doing in comparison with how he sounded in 1977 as well. All right, so the top audio is, of course, from the 192, again, the You Wanted the Best version. All right, ending section of the song, 1996. Very kind of almost sounds triggered. And I know I've read somewhere on the internet, so it must be true, um, that maybe the multi-tracks were, affected in some way, um, like that. But what I have done, and you'll hear it when we play the next sample, which again, I think is Rock and Roll Party for this ending section, um, is for 1996, Peter seemed to end the song with a blast, not just single notes. So I went back to 77 and checked a couple of other versions, and it seemed to vary potentially by mood. Who knows how he'd want to end the song? Again, it's all wrapped up in the moment, not necessarily being um, the same every single show. So this is just a good example. And just because the "You Wanted the Best" recording ends in a certain way doesn't give it a illegitimacy, because it doesn't sound like a Rock and Roll Party in Tokyo ending, or Houston 77, or Fort Worth 77 ending, or even how they performed it in 1996 in Irvine. Again, that's something that just stood out to me, highlighted in green. Neither here nor there. The drums are pretty four on the floor rock and roll. All right, so the final samples that we have here are going to be the guitars. And this is very brief because, again, we've got nothing to compare with. So I just want to compare the solo from 96 with the solo from 77 and see, are they similar in terms of phrasing and execution, or is there any shenanigans possibly at play? I mean, I know there's one solo on those new tracks that I think Ace potentially recut. No evidence to that again. So let's see what we think with Take Me. All right, so that's the 1996 You Wanted the Best version. Again, meat and potatoes, Ace Frehley in tone and in sonics to me, just modern processed for the time, to my ears. Let's see what you think after hearing Tokyo 77. All right, so that's what I think. I think those match up pretty well, so I don't think that was necessarily a re-record. I think the tone, the pick attack, and overall the solo matches up for my ears. Now, if you're a real guitar player, what do you think? I mean, are you a real drummer? What do you think about those samples? Obviously, there's no debate over the vocals here, so I'm 100% adamant that I'm correct, that Paul re-recorded the vocals. But when it comes to the guitars and the drums, I don't think there's any shenanigans at play on Take Me. But I have been wrong before. So what do you think? Put it in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this series, digging back into You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best. It's a much maligned and potentially neglected album as it celebrates its 30th anniversary. I hope this little deep dive, and also our separate podcast episode refocusing in on that album, gives you the motivation to, if you haven't dig out that album, go back in time to 1996 and, try and recall what you felt at the time. There was a lot of emotion wrapped up in that year. We'd had the MTV Unplugged album. Middle of the year comes along, You Wanted the Best, and the tour kicks off. And, even from across the sea in Scotland, in Glasgow, it was an exciting time. And I moved down to Canterbury soon afterwards to do a master's at the university there. And trading the audio bootlegs from that tour was all encompassing. Where was I at the university? Rutherford House, in the dorms there, and my mail was continuously jam packed with tapes coming in. And then, of course, the tour hit the UK, and I didn't make it to the tour because I was a drunken boozer, spending all my gas money, my petrol money, in the dormitory bar. Yeah, we had bars at the university. It was wonderful. So it was an exciting period to be a fan. And then, of course, the Greatest Kiss compilation came out later in the year in the UK, Europe, and Japan, followed by April the following year in the US. So there was a lot of releases. There were the remastered songs that appeared on You Wanted the Best from Alive and Alive too, so kind of a best of those albums. We won't talk about the Jay Leno interview here, as I'm going to bash it on the podcast Refocused episode, no doubt. So it was a great year to be a Kiss fan. It was an exciting time to be a Kiss fan, and it was fun. Regardless of the quirks about these recordings, I think the takeaway is that they at least tried something. As we know from Robert Conti's interviews on Three Sides of the Coin, there were other things planned for that album, and this is not what was originally intended. Unfortunately, that episode, I think, is not available currently to review. So hopefully they'll get that uploaded in time for the anniversary as well. So there we are. I want you to hopefully have had some fun listening to me be wrong or right, whatever the case may be. So like I said, chime in with your comments, hit like, and all that. Your support is very much appreciated. But for now, that's it. Next album, what will it be? Oh, look, you're still here, watching or listening. We're not sponsored, monetized, or supervised. We're only in this for subs and likes and kicks. So why don't you mash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment about today's episode.